So I don't exactly know how this is going to work, but this is the first of, I hope, many episodes of what I'm calling kitchen vlogs. And it's not about being in the kitchen, actually. It's just my usual show, but done while I cut stuff in the kitchen, which you don't get to see. Maybe at the end you'll get to see what it is, but the whole point of this is that sometimes I just don't get time to record stuff during the day, so I'll do it when I'm in the kitchen, right? Seems like a good idea. So what I wanted to talk about today was my creative process, right? So as we all know, like as artists, our creative, I'm not being so pretentious by saying I'm like some kind of fine artist. I'm just saying that's what I do is I try to make stuff that I consider art, at least, if not other people. But what so what we all have a process, right? That's the whole point. If you're an artist, you have to have a process. So when you have this process, I noticed, like, over the summer, over the past month, my process has been like wake up around noon sometime after going to sleep at like 4 in the morning, and then at some point during the day, just like when I get tired of just lazing around, I get to work eventually. That's my process right now. It isn't the most efficient process in the world, but I have noted some things, like how it changes me and stuff. And I think this might be useful for people who are trying to get trying to make creativity part of their daily life, but at the same time are finding it hard to adjust to that type of lifestyle, because it's not like physically tiring, right? It's not the most physically tiring thing in the world. In fact, because of that reason, a lot of people get kind of put off because it is not physically demanding. They're like, oh, I'm not doing any work, so they get down on themselves. But the point is that if you're trying to make this part of your life, you have to kind of put up with the demands that it puts on you, right? So like for me, when I start like to get heavily into writing, and like it's May 26th today, so the first of many competitions I'm hoping for this summer, the first of many of those, the first piece is due on June 1st. So we're getting into crunch time for what I would consider the first major piece of the summer. I'm gonna move this, I think. Maybe if how do you see vegetables? If I put it all, you know what? This is fine. I'll put it here. Yeah, that should work. No? Okay, put it back here. All right. Let's bend it. Does that work? No, that doesn't work yet. You know, fuck it. Let's just leave it where it was. So, first major piece of the summer is due pretty soon. So I'm getting all kinds of nervous about it. And one of the things that I noticed about is that I get weirdly distant when I do creative work. Like if I'm just sitting on the couch on my Chromebook, like editing or something like that, and someone asks me to do something, or ask me like, oh, hey, what should I make for lunch or something like that, or like, hey, you want to go out someplace today or something like that, I get weirdly like standoffish and kind of hostile for some reason. I don't know why, but this is a thing that happens, and it's been something I've been trying to learn how to deal with, because like I said, this is maybe the first summer that I'm like doing genuinely creative work, because last summer I did a whole bunch of YouTube videos that, I don't know, they're not very fulfilling to do that kind of work, and you get burnt out super fast if you do that, chasing the daily YouTube video crowd, right? Because if you make daily YouTube video content, you have to keep it up, because people, they expect that from you when they subscribe to you. So if you just plan to do that for a little bit and then get out of the game, probably not the best idea, because the subscribers that you get, they want you to keep that same stream of content coming to them, because that's what they subscribe to you for. So if you want to chase that bear, be prepared, and just know that you have the right kind of work ethic, and scheduling, I think, is the most important part of that. So like, no, make sure you have that before you chase that. But anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, okay, so this kind of artistic content, right? The thing about artistic content is like it demands a lot from you creatively. Like when I do this kind of work, like if I write a 1,000-word piece in one day, which I can do and I've done before, but it makes me like zone out of everything else. Like no other part of my life I pay attention to that day. Like I sometimes even forget to eat. Like I drink like coffee in the morning to get started, and then I don't eat until like after I'm done, like at night, like 8 or 9 o'clock. That's one side effect. And like I said before, I get weirdly hostile and I get like retreat into myself a lot, and I like get down on my own work a lot. Like it's a thing that happens. Like when I first get started, I'm like super excited to get the story down, but like halfway into the story, I get like super down on myself. I'm like, oh shit, you shouldn't even have written this. This is horrible. Why did you do this? Why did you like spend so much time doing this when you could be doing something else that earns you money or something like that? These are all thoughts that I've had, and I'm sure a lot of you have had. So, like, how do you get over that? Like, you can't, I don't think you can ever get over that fully, right? Because it's just part of who you are. You just have to learn how to deal with it at some point. Like, for me, what I used to do to get over this is not work during the day at all. I just work during the nighttime, because at night, there's no one that I can piss off. Or no one to piss me off, actually, I should say. But you can't only work at night, because sometimes inspiration just hits you in the middle of the day. Like the piece that I just put up on my Patreon, it just came to me. Like I got super angry at someone that I know, and then it just like hit me like, oh, this thing. And then I wrote it out, wrote the whole thing in one go. Like that's not something that I usually do. So it was kind of weird that I did that. But if I had waited for the nighttime, I would have completely lost it, right? So you got to just go with the flow, like take it as it comes, and when it and just deal, like you either you have to have like a super understanding significant other who can just be like, hey, I signed up for this, you know, like if you get weirdly hostile with me, I can't do anything about it. I just have to accept it, or like make a deal where you say like, oh, hey, I'm writing this thing right now, or I'm doing this thing right now. Like, give me an hour, and then I'll talk to you like a normal person, because for the next 1 hour, I'm gonna be like a weirdo, and the only thing I'll know how to do is make things, whatever it is that you're making, right? So I just had this weird thought this morning about this, because the more I do it, it's becoming more and more apparent, and like it makes me feel really bad about taking time off to do this. Not time off, like secluding myself to do this, because I could be doing so much more. Like I could be helping out with what I'm supposed to be helping out with, or like just being a more agreeable person. Like I'm on summer vacation right now, so there's not really much that I have to do, but I could be doing a whole bunch of other stuff. And that's like a whole another conversation about what you could be doing instead of doing creative work. But that's like something that's like I said, that's a whole nother conversation. There's no point dwelling on that. So what was I trying to, okay, let me get to what was the point? Let's trace back to the point. Yes, understanding your creative process. Like if your process, ideally for me, what would be ideal would be like to just go to a cabin in the woods or something which has internet. You know, I need internet, don't need much else, which has internet, and then just sit there, and then when it comes to me, just let it come to me. But realistically, you can't do that, right? Like your life is so demanding, and as artists, you don't really make money through your art until you're already like pretty well known. So when you're just getting started, when you're looking to improve and stuff, there's not really much opportunity to seclude yourself like that, because you won't be making any money or doing anything useful. Like I'm a college student. If I just, in the 4 months that I have off, if I just went to a cabin in the middle of the woods, then it would be super bad for the rest of the year, because I'd have $0, you know? That's not really feasible for me to do. So like they have those what are they, residencies, right? They have it's like a stage for writers or whatever, like a super pretentious. Maybe I should I just cut this like that? It's a jalapeno. I wonder. So if you have a residency, that's the whole point of it, is that they're giving you this paid time to sit there and just do the stuff that you want to do without having to do any of the things that get in the way, right? And every writer who does that always says that, oh, it's so hard to find inspiration when you're secluded like that. So maybe it's actually a blessing that sometimes you find yourself with other things to do, because from those other things, you get inspiration to do the things that you actually want to do, you know? It can be a good thing too, but you just have to learn to incorporate your weirdness into the rest of your life, because you have to do the rest of the stuff. creativity is a privilege. You know, it's not a duty unless you are actually making money off of it. So don't put it ahead of all of the rest of your duties. Learn how to incorporate it into the other stuff, because if you let it get too in the way, then it's not gonna be sustainable. You know, like it's gonna be something that you have to pull yourself away from everything for. And how many times do you find time to do that? You know, if it's part of your natural daily process, like, hey, after lunch I do this before I do anything else, then you can do it every day because it's just part of your routine at that point. And I've done a whole nother thing about how you can incorporate your creative process into your routine. So that's a whole nother thing. Go look at that if you want to learn about that. But this is more like about how to deal with the quirks of being a creative type, because we all know that we get kind of weirdly we just get kind of weird when you make things. Like, you shut yourself in your room for 8 hours, or you have to listen to this particular music at this particular volume. We all know the artist cliche with the noise complaints and stuff like that, right? So what was I saying? Yeah, okay. So if you make it part of your routine, it's way easier to keep going and keep doing it. That's the most important thing ultimately, is to keep doing it. Because if you don't keep doing it, you're not going to get better, and you're not going to eventually reach the level that you want to reach, right? Like, even my stuff now, after like the novel that I was writing for the past 6 months, when I look back at it now, as I'm progressing through it, like each part is getting progressively better, but I never started with a plan. So the whole thing is kind of just directionless and not really going anywhere. So next time, for sure, you have to do something different. Zucchinis. I have a cutting board full of vegetables, so I have to do something about that. But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. As you get better, or as you keep doing it, you'll get better, but you have to keep doing it. And the easiest way to keep doing it is to control your creative process and contain it in a way that it can be incorporated into your daily routine, right? And to like kind of live with the eccentricities that you naturally have and that your process naturally brings. Like I explained, for me is I just tell people around me, be like, I need 2 hours of I just turn the lights off, sit with my Chromebook in front of me and just write for like 2 hours. And then I stop. And then I talk to people like a normal person. So that's my thing. I don't know what your thing is. Put it in the comments, I guess. I don't know. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.